Hi, this is Kevin Conroy, and you're listening to the GeekCast Radio Network.
You are now on the inside of what I like to call the circle of trust.
We are all connected in the great circle of life.
You know something, Bert? What? I think you and I are going in circles.
It feels like we're going in circles.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Because it's a circle.
Yeah, we heard about the circle.
Yes, we're familiar with shapes.
Hi, this is Greg.
This is Chuck.
And this is Dan, and we are Talking in Circles, brought to you by the GeekCast Radio Network, a podcast that knows how to separate fact from fiction, because we do it every so often with our most infamous game, Fact or Fiction, which we're bringing back once again for this week. But before we get to that, how's the week been going for you guys?
Week's been kind of shitty, but just for random personal reasons.
Starting on a high note.
Yeah. I guess one of the bright spots is the resurgence of my Miami Dolphins, which is pretty exciting.
Man, yeah, they just have to play the Houston Texans and then all goes well.
Yeah, I mean,
boo!
I don't know. Greg's booing because I ruined his fantasy weekend.
Yes, you did.
I don't know how short-lived this will be or how long-lived or whatever, but hey, I'm enjoying it right now because the last time we pounded two teams back-to-back, I can't even remember, so... but by the time...
Sounds a little dangerous, pounding two teams back-to-back. I don't know.
Yeah, back-to-back weeks. By
Don't
the time
forget
this
to wear a
comes
condom.
out, I have no idea if we'll have lost to the Patriots or not, but,
Please kick their ass.
As long as we're playing tough, then I'm satisfied.
Dan Campbell era is starting well, man. He's a beast so far. So.
Yeah, I hear they're calling them the Miami Campbells now. So he's just totally changed the culture of that team. So.
Oh man, but I mean, yeah, I'm just waiting for next year when he's the new Campbell soup guy. So
yeah.
I gotta feel bad for Joe Philbin, who's like, yeah, I guess it was me.
I know. I thought about that the other day. I'm like, I wonder what Joe Philbin's thinking, sitting on his couch at home. Like, damn, 82 points in 2 weeks. My bad.
Greg, how are things going with you?
Pretty good. I actually had a date this past weekend that went really well, and
yay, Greg!
Thank you. It was with this girl I met down in Philly, so we had to meet halfway. And I really don't get down that far south. That sounded dirty. And so I asked my boss some good places to go near Allentown, Bethlehem area in Pennsylvania, and he suggested a speakeasy, which was really awesome. It's kind of a nice little high-class place, and like all speakeasies, it was really hard to find. It's just this little door in the side of a building that
What exactly is a speakeasy, Greg?
Speakeasy is from back in the Prohibition era, where mobsters would try to sell their booze patrons, so they kind of had it in like little dark cellars and everything. They used to have a little latch or door that they opened up to speak out of and look out of and ask for a password and everything. And they would serve cocktails during the Prohibition era. So this kind of really fell into that, and the name of the place is The Bookstore, and so it had a bookstore speakeasy feel to it. There was no little thing to open and ask for a password, but the door was really hard to find in the random middle of a building, just a door with The Bookstore written on it.
They didn't hold up a card and you had to say like a frog on a bench or something.
No, nothing like that at all. But it was.
But that would be a pretty badass thing to pull out for the first date, though. Like, yeah,
I have ins.
Yeah,
but it was a very crowded place. Apparently, I needed reservations, but I was able to get seats at the bar. She was a bit late, so I kind of sat down. started ordering all these different cocktails and everything. I had a brown derby, something that sounds like Skarsgård or something, which was
Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson. She comes on the table open-legged.
Stellan Skarsgård?
He does not come up to the table open-legged. But it was really cool. They have a menu in a book. They have it like pasted, the menu pasted in a couple pages that you look through the book and order stuff. I also had a meat and cheese tray, which was really good. And I had a pulled pork sandwich. My date finally arrived, and she had some pierogies.
Wow, all that before your date came.
Yes, all that before my date arrived, yes. And she arrived. She also had a cocktail, and she ordered off their small plate menu, and she had some pierogies, and then we headed off, and we went to a haunted house in Saylorsburg, which was really good. So it was a really good date.
Get her all liquored up and then scare the shit out of her.
Oh my God, she screamed so loud. It was pretty funny.
I gotta say, though, that's pretty brave to pull out the pulled pork on a first date, because I'd be worried for a number of reasons. Just like, getting it on me, like, gigantic stain of pulled pork sauce. But
I'm a professional, Dan. I actually make my own pulled pork, so I'm pretty good with it. So
actually made my own over this weekend as well.
Oh,
so
nice. How'd that go?
In the crock pot, nothing fancy.
We'll have to upgrade you to a smoker soon.
Yeah, one day for sure.
Did you smoke it for 13 hours like Arby's, though?
I know, one day I can be their quality. One day, I just got to get unprocessed meat. Well, actually, funny, because you're in that area. I was not that far away from you, because I was around Reading, PA, over the weekend.
What?
I met up. Yeah, I know, that's weird. I met up with some friends in that area, friends and family. And one thing, we went to this little, fall festival thing. You would know it, kind of related to, Roba's Tree Farm.
Okay.
It's almost like a converted farm. They have a corn maze, and they have, stands set up with different fall decorations. There's a pumpkin patch, and all this great stuff, if you're old like me, apparently now. But, I met up with some friends. We went on the corn maze with our kids, because they also have a little baby who's not that much older than...
Is that the one that I saw on your one page, and then I commented, Dan, you have a growth coming out of the front of you. You should get that checked out by a doctor?
Yeah, I got to break out the daddy daycare backpack where I hold you put the kid in, and you're, holding them on your shoulders or in the front of you, like you're like a baby fanny pack, kind of.
Yeah. I noticed that it instantly got deleted somehow.
No, it's still there.
Oh, is it? Because when I checked, It was deleted. It was nowhere in sight. I'm like, oh, nobody liked my joke.
That's the Carol virus.
I responded to it too.
Oh, did you? I didn't see that. I'm gonna have to check that now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I said I forget what I said, but it says something about it's been around for me for a while now. It just won't go away or something. I don't remember. But yeah, that was in the middle of a corn maze. We went in this corn maze, and we used to do that all the time. But this is the first time I think I did one during the daylight, which was different. And the one we usually do, you go to different stations inside of it, and you get pieces of a map. But this one had questions throughout that would ask you a question and give you 3 options.
Oh God, it's the Riddler.
I know.
Opened a corn maze.
It's like the Saw movies.
I know. It would be option A, you'd go take a right. Option B, if you think the answer is B, you go straight or what have you. So, but it took us a little bit to realize how helpful those were. But eventually, we actually made our way out when we just let the babies guide our way out, and we found it. But it was a good time. They had this apple shooter, this gigantic apple cannon gun that you could shoot, and they had old broken down cars you would shoot these apples at. It's fun for the whole family type of stuff. So
awesome.
Connor shot his first gun.
Yeah. It was like a gigantic potato gun, but you'd shoot apples.
Okay, so. Your response, and it is still here, it says, don't worry, he has his shots. So.
Oh, there you go. He does. Yes, very much so.
So they parked, they had all these junk cars parked there and stuff?
They just had 2 junk cars that they were so beat up though that when you hit it didn't do anything because it just added more dents to all the dents that were already there. But the concept is fun enough, I guess. But,
nice.
The best part though was they were making donuts. It was, being fall, they had this fall stuff, but they had apple cinnamon donuts that were like fresh and like warm. It was delicious.
Chuck's best noise thing that he has done on this podcast.
Yeah. It was like eating. Yeah, it was a bucket of deliciousness. So it was a good time. But
yeah, love those donuts.
Yeah.
So
that was going on. And another interesting thing that happened this week was I was actually kind of excited because my wife was actually interested in watching a comic book TV show that was coming out. Well, mainly because every time we watched an NFL game, there was like 8,000 commercials for it, and that was Supergirl. That was the recently debuted. I know the pilot was leaked online months ago, but I kind of held off, and I figured I'd wait to see when it comes on to see the actual legit pilot. And I know, Chuck, I think you checked it out as well. I was curious to hear what you thought of the pilot to Supergirl.
Well, you want me to go first then?
If you dare, I guess. I don't know.
Pressure's on. Yeah, I thought it was okay. I wasn't particularly impressed with it.
This is a great startup.
Yeah, that sound effect of is kind of the reaction I think I get from everyone who talks about the show. It's like,
yeah.
It's
like you want so bad to find something good about it, but
yeah, it's like you don't hate it. It wasn't awful, but it was just like,
yeah,
well, that happened.
I guess I'll go through kind of some of the stuff that bugged me about it. My first complaint is too much too fast. There was so much packed into this episode. Like, I'll throw a little spoiler warning out here, but I'm not really ruining much, but basically some of the things they go over, like, they cover Krypton, Superman, her childhood, her sister, then go to her job. They throw all these other characters in, and there's tons of randomness. And then they throw another character in at the very end. And it was just like, what is happening? Like, they just covered so much time and so many things and so many introductions. It felt like too much to me. Like, I think if they simplified the story for at least the pilot episode, I think it would have benefited them greatly. Second,
that's interesting. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's kind of interesting because I think that's one thing I did kind of like about it. Maybe I don't disagree that there was maybe a little too much, but I liked how, at least in the sound, that I was a little worried that the entire first episode was just going to be about her making the decision to become a superhero or not, and like it would be not until the very end to when that decision is made.
Yeah.
I was kind of glad that didn't happen because I'm like, I felt like we've done that story so many times, so often, but like I was kind of glad that before the first commercial break, like that decision was made. So that was one thing I did like, that I thought it didn't take too long to get going.
Right.
But I don't disagree that they covered a lot of things within like they're doing world building. It's like the DC movies trying to catch up with Marvel. It felt like they're just let's do everything in this episode and then we can
it felt really rushed to me. Like for example, the one scene in particular was when she was making her costume. Like she just kept like going to her room and then she'd come out with like these totally different things. And it's like, okay, how did you get that? Where did that even come from? And it was just like really rushed. Like it was really fast. And it's like, okay, how did you make that? Where did you even get that from? Like, where did you get the inspiration to take that look? Like, didn't really, I don't know. That's just one small thing, but
first I thought she was like working at some sort of fashion magazine or fashion location because I got a huge impression of like this is similar to Devil Wears Prada. Like her boss is very much in the line. So the entire time I was thinking that she was in fashion, and that's why I didn't really question that. But then I realized no, she's actually she's a reporter. Or she works for a newspaper too. So that was yeah.
I thought like what really would have worked great for me is if they just kind of focused in on one specific event, like a challenge or like a trial of when she was younger, like just one specific situation that she was put in that was very trying and tested her mettle and grit, so to speak. And I thought something like that like would have been a great pilot episode instead of trying to cover the entire backstory in one episode. Just give us like a a slice out of, like, a cross-section out of her life. Like, give us one harrowing situation and see how she responds to it. I thought that would have been a great hook to, like, grab people, but...
Is it me, or I know this isn't the show's fault because it's kind of the origin of the show, but the idea of Supergirl, like, it's like, oh, we sent her to protect Clark. I'm like, why would you send a 13-year-old girl to protect a baby? It's like, should we send this soldier or this, this other, a parent? No, we'll send a 13-year-old girl. It'll be okay. It's like, wait. You're just putting two people in danger. This concept makes no sense. Why is nobody questioning this logic? Why is no one thinking, maybe this isn't the best idea in the world, that this is the way things are going to work?
Yeah.
Like, I just thought that was kind of funny. It's like, it's just, all right, well, we'll just get with it. So.
I guess babysitters are highly regarded on Krypton. I don't know.
I don't know.
You would think Jor-El would have been like, shh, go back over there, I'm going. It's like he just hops in the pod and like...
we have this technology. Can't we just make a couple more?
I know. I know, you made 2 ships. Like, can you just make, like, 3 more ships for, like, your other, like, family members? Like, I don't know.
I know, that goes back to it's just kind of funny. I just thought that was funny. It's just, anyways.
Yeah. So we spent all this time preparing you, a 13-year-old girl, to protect this kid when we could have built 2 more ships for us. But
I just feel like that's something like Family Guy would, or something like that would mention.
Yeah.
Why aren't they... Really? Do they not have spaceships that have 2 seats? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I guess another thing I'd bring up, the special effects to me were kind of terrible.
The one shot I thought looked kind of cool was like when she runs out of the building and you see like the plane like in off in the distance on fire.
Yeah,
I thought that looked good, and then it got closer. I
actually really liked the telescopic X-ray vision.
Yeah,
where she looks up into the plane and she sees her sister on it, and obviously she's standing on the ground, so she looks up and through the plane. I thought that was pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah,
but like some of the flying scenes and the fight scenes definitely left something to be desired. Like, yeah,
the physics look kind of off. They look really like the way people would jump. It just
like when she was fighting that guy at the construction site or the dock, whatever it was, and he was like, she got hit into those pipes and stuff, and the way he would throw her around, it just seemed like choppy, kind of like a video game sort of. Yeah. It wasn't smooth. And then also the scene when she's fighting him by the truck, and she was just kind of like up in the air, like it just looked so obvious that she's suspended from wires. Like there's something just seemed off about it. It's just like, oh yeah, she's hanging from a couple wires. You can almost like see how she's hanging there, like by her by her harness or something. It was just, it was pretty awful. Like, and I mean, I'm used to seeing TV graphics, like watching The Flash and stuff, but the Flash speed effects are pretty awesome. I will give them that. Some of the other things aren't always so great, but the speed effects are pretty awesome. So, I don't know. That kind of left me a little puzzled.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I thought like the plane sequence looked pretty good for the most part, but once you got into like the physics of her flying and the back and forth, it wasn't all that great. And I think my issue too, which may go along with what you were saying with it going so fast, was that like her character too just felt really inconsistent. Like I couldn't figure out like, at one point she's like, she's like just super determined, won't let anything stop her. And then she's not like that anymore. And she's more like self-doubt. I mean, I couldn't figure out like where exactly do they want this character to go. But I do think, for a pilot, it has those elements. And I think a lot of those are fixable for sure. I thought, honestly, like if I were to compare this to the pilot for Arrow, I think I ended up liking it a little bit more. But what's weird though, it feels more CW-ish than the actual superhero shows on the CW.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just has that vibe. And not to get into this conversation, but I ended up going on IMDb and I was like, okay, who's like writing this show? Who's being part of the show? Who's producing it? And there's like it's all guys. It's all guys. And I think it's kind of evident too, because I don't feel like they can, not that a guy can't write a strong female character, because that's been done before or vice versa. But it doesn't seem like, maybe for this, they could have used someone else. I don't know. It just doesn't, like her talking and her character feels like what a middle-aged guy thinks a girl that age acts like today.
That's a good point.
It doesn't seem very authentic to me.
Because I was going to bring up something like that too. Like, she really came off like a overly energetic but self-doubting teeny bopper kind of. Yeah. It was just kind of annoying at times because it was just like too over the top. You're like, okay.
And as sad as this is, I do know this actress because she was on Glee. My wife watched Glee, so I inherently watched a few episodes. And she's, legit. She's pretty good. She's a rather good singer. And I was actually talking to my wife about this. I'm like, if they ever did like a CW or a DC musical, they have like a lot of talent on their hands because they have her, they have the actor who's the Flash, and the guy who's the cop for the Flash. He was in Rent. He's a great singer too. Uh-huh. So they have all this musical theater talent that's making up their universe, which is kind of funny. But yeah,
the new 52 musical, I guess.
Exactly. Maybe one day. But I think I will try another episode. I am glad the ratings were like insane. It was like it was the biggest debut for a comic book TV show ever. It was like 13 million people. It beat the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. record, which was like 12 million. Which I think is good. I think that's overall great to see that, especially for a female-driven character for a superhero show. And hopefully Marvel and DC will look at that and say, hey, this can happen, that we have Jessica Jones coming out. And I think that's probably going to make this look really not nearly as good because it'll probably be so much better. Yeah. But I'm going to give it another episode. It's a pilot, so pilots tend to, very rarely our pilots are really good. So I have hope, but I'm most likely going to be just one thing I binge watch once it all comes out. So I don't know. Do you think you'll stick with it for next week?
Yeah, I'll definitely give it a chance. Like I said, I wasn't totally sold on Melissa Benoist, but I guess like it might take her a few episodes to get settled into that role. So I'll definitely give it a few more. And if by episode 4, like I'm still not crazy about it, then maybe I'll abandon it. But there's something else I wanted to mention. A couple other things, maybe.
Go right ahead.
I really did not like the Jimmy Olsen character, just because, like, it felt like they completely changed the core of that character. Because I'm like, wait a minute, he's athletic and confident now, and I'm like, he gives life advice and he's muscular and like and then he also kind of seems too old, to be like a Jimmy Olsen character. Like, it just didn't work at all for me. Like, that's not what I think of when I think of Jimmy Olsen. You know what I mean? Like, I think of sort of like a younger kid, like someone that follows you around like a tail, sort of like he wants to be in on the action, not someone that's like kind of brooding and confident and like definitely can handle himself.
Chuck, do you want him to be like this?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, not to that extreme, but more on that side.
Yeah, but I was getting where you were going with it.
Yeah, I can see like why that if you're a traditionalist or like someone who likes that character, why do you be turned off by like their interpretation, which is a complete 180 from it. I guess the way I kind of look at it too is maybe this guy was that way when Superman first came out, because I think it's pretty evident in this universe that Superman's been around for a good while, at least maybe a decade or so, maybe. It's hard to tell considering. My thought process with it is probably that they wanted some way to connect it to Superman, which I find that each time they bring him up, they have to come up with a different way to say his name because they can't say Superman.
I was going to comment on that too. They never actually said Superman.
Yeah, the big guy or my cousin. It's just like, what? It's so stupid. I don't know if it's a legal thing or what have you, but it's ridiculous. It's I don't know who they're talking about. So who could they possibly be talking about?
I think they might have said Kal-El in the beginning.
Yeah.
Possibly, but they never said Superman. Yeah, you're right.
But for me, I actually like the character as the character, maybe not compared to what you expect as Jimmy Olsen, but I don't know. I like the actor. He was in True Blood for a while, and I found him compelling compared unlike nearly every other side character in this. I found her boss way too cartoonish, and it felt like she was just trying to be Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada, but not nearly as good. Her other friend was just, again, felt very cliche. I'm interested in seeing where it goes, like him kind of flipping that character on its head and making him more the opposite of what he is to Superman. And I think it kind of makes sense if you look at it that way, where it's like, you know, Superman brought him along, and now he's, you know, bringing Supergirl along, you know, to maturity. You know, is it against everything that character was? Yeah, but I just wonder if you had Jimmy Olsen as a character, could you do much with him? Maybe they should have just created a character, though that in itself might have been an issue. But I don't know. I get why people are upset, but I don't really mind it at all.
Well, that's why I was kind of thinking, like, that other character, I forget his name, but the IT tech whiz, it seems like sort of repetitive, like that they have both of those guys there. Like, I felt like if they had one of them, just keep one of them, that would be sufficient.
Yeah.
So now you have these two guys that are, you know, the one obviously kind of has a crush on her, and she kind of has a crush on the other one, so I guess they're trying to play like a love triangle type thing. Maybe they'll develop that, I don't know, but...
I did think it was funny, though, that, like, it took her, 15 minutes to reveal her secret identity?
I know. It's like I'm just going to start telling people, like...
It's like, you can't give it a day. She's so worried about it. She's so worried that, like, you know, people have these photos of her, and then immediately on a roof that's not the highest building, so people can see you down if they're looking out their window. So I did not think that through at all.
I feel like a lot of people would actually behave that way if it happened to them. They'd be like, I gotta tell. They'd like put it on Facebook. They'd be like,
they'd be checking in on, you know, underneath the airplane on their phone.
They take a selfie, like, oh, so glad to be a superhero right now. Like, what?
Yeah, very true.
I know, but yeah, and also did think, like, logically, the thing with Jimmy Olsen doesn't make too much sense that he's sort of bringing her along or guiding her, because it's like it's Superman's cousin. Like, don't you want to come and talk to her at all? Like,
yeah,
they kind of make it seem like they haven't spoken in years or something. It's like, you know, they don't refer to him like he's very close or anything at all. It doesn't seem like she really looks up to him a whole lot. You know, obviously she respects him, but it's like, wouldn't Superman come and make sure that his cousin's being sort of brought up with the right ideals and values and stuff, instead of sending this random photographer from a newspaper to kind of like look after her? It's like, it would take you...
I got stuff to do. Can you just, you know, just hang out with her for a while?
It would literally take you like 1 second to fly to where she is and just be like, so hey, how's it going? You know, I heard you fight this, you know, really tough guy from the Phantom Zone. Are you okay? Yeah, great job. You did great. Keep it up. All right, see you later. And like 1 second to fly back to Metropolis. Like, I don't know. I guess that's stuff that they can't really do much about, but...
Superman's got shit to do, Chuck.
Yeah. Lois Lane is very demanding, you know. Yeah. She's got expectations. I guess that's the inherent danger of that, like, introducing her to this, but I'm interested to see if, like, they're going to pull in, because it does seem, based upon the setup, that they clearly are diverging from, I don't know much about Supergirl's origin. I know it's been changed a bunch, like with the, you know, the monster of the week that they have set up and whatnot. But that's my other worry with it, is that it just feels like it's going to be a very straight procedural that's just going to be, you know, the same thing every week. That's because CBS is kind of notorious for doing that. So I don't know.
I'm worried about a consistent villain as well. Like, you know, Flash had Harrison Wells, which was a great villain the whole first season. You know, Arrow specifically season 2, you look at Slade Wilson, that was a great season-long villain. I mean, that made for some great episodes. It's a little tougher when you're doing the, you know, the Freak a Week approach like Smallville did, and, you know, it's harder. It's easier to jump on, but it's also harder to sustain and, like, keep people's attention. So yeah. I guess it's a slippery slope, but...
Freak a Week, that's a way to go with it.
Yeah.
I like that. Freak a Week, yeah. It's, you know, could be someone with bad date or with a bad dating regimen or something like that. But, yeah, so I guess lukewarm responses all around for this. So, Greg, get excited to check it out, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Yeah, so I would say hold off, honestly.
I will say I liked it much better than Gotham's pilot, though. And Gotham's
yeah,
first
I don't
few
disagree
episodes.
with that. I do think it's better than Gotham. So
Which I've heard Gotham has gotten a lot better. So actually, I'm going to have to recheck it out because I've heard it's gotten a lot better. So I don't know.
I'd be curious to say, you can be the guinea pig.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
I'm still holding off.
I'll keep you posted.
Awesome. But Greg, I'm hoping you can bring us back around because I know you've been reading something regarding some classic characters, and I'm hoping, maybe your review is a little bit more positive than ours.
Fortunately, probably not. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
I am so sorry. So sorry. That was kind of racist. I'm sorry. But I read a book that I got from Baltimore Comic-Con for a really nice price. It was only $10, and it's this really nicely done hardcover, put together very nicely, I should say. But I have read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 25th Anniversary, and the stories very lackluster. I haven't read any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff before. This would be my first time reading it because I was a 90s cartoon kind of kid. So this is the first actual comic stuff that I've read from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it was kind of very lackluster on story. There wasn't any... They were very, very, very simple stories. There wasn't anything really behind them. It was just a collection of stories that I believe it was Eastman really liked and put together.
So are these like classic stories that came out like years ago, or are these like newer stories that he created?
I think it's a combination of both. And the only one that I found really intriguing was the appearance of Casey Jones into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle worlds, which I found kind of interesting, but it was also fell to a very simple story, just happenstance of meeting, happenstance of the whole thing going on, and Casey Jones is definitely different than the movie persona that we got. It was just different, I guess, than what I expected. I don't care for Eastman and Lard artwork either. I don't know. I just found it sloppy. It's not in the style I like, I guess. I don't really know.
Is it black and white? Is it like the classic, or is it more updated?
This, they had some color. They had some black and white stories, so it was a little combination of both. But apparently they were black and white. And they were colored for this book. It was just a tough read for me, I guess. I kind of had to struggle with it because the stories were so simple that there wasn't a lot for me to get interested in. The stories could get kind of goofy. It wasn't goofy really for me in a fun way, I guess you would say. It just all really fell flat for me for the most part. But the most disturbing thing about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in comics form is their tails. Their tails were so creepy because it looks like penises all the time. I swear, on the front cover they have coming down the side is like Leonardo kind of like jumping in midair, and it looks like he has like his little donger coming out the bottom of him there. It's just, since I've noticed it, it's what my eye instantly keeps going to anymore. It's like a train wreck. It's so that's also a giant like what the hell turn off for me. So it's just weird, I guess.
Interesting. I've never read any of that stuff, but I have read the new updated IDW series, who like TFG and One Mike from GeekCast Radio talks about all the time. I'm like episode. Geez, I'm in like issue 35, and that took a little bit to get going. Like it was probably not until like the 15th issue that I really started getting into it. So you may want to check that out. Just be warned that it takes a little bit to get used to. But I did find that a very good updated version of it, and like that was the first time I myself read any comic book version of the Turtles. And I like they have a kind of an intriguing twist on them in regarding like the past of the Turtles and how it affects their future, the present of them, and which I thought was a cool way to kind of explain their different abilities and stuff better than them watching a video in the movie or whatever they did. Have you read any classic Turtle stuff, Chuck? I thought I remember you talked about one way back when, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I read some of the original issues, like the first few issues that Eastman and Laird ever did. I was highly impressed with those. They were like, I think I got through like maybe the first 4 issues or something like that. I really, really liked those. That's kind of where the original movie came from. Those stories. But I think once they got past those storylines, I think it got into the little goofy stuff like Greg was talking about. Like they start going into outer space and other dimensions and stuff. And
the IDW series does get kind of goofy too, but I think it's fun enough, I would say. It's not like groundbreakingly amazing, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I think they're at their best when they stick to like the Shredder stories for the most part.
Yeah, very cool. Well, hopefully we will have some better things to talk about as we get into what are our most favorite games, fact or fiction, but we're just going to take a quick break and we'll be back in a bit.
So let's say you're looking for a podcast of your favorite 80s comic books, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, He-Man, etc. Where are you going to go to find us?
Welcome to Star Joe's Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan.
And I'm Chuck. That's right, everybody. We're the Star Joes. We host a podcast called Star Joe's Podcast, where we talk about your favorite comic books, your favorite toys of all the 80s properties.
Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Mask, Thundercats, Voltron, you name it, we cover it. If it's in the 80s, we'll cover it at some point.
Yes, so what you want to do to find us, you can go to iTunes, you can go to www.starjoes.com.
And remember, the Force will be with you.
Because knowing us is half the battle.
It's Showtime Synergy. The latest review podcast from the GeekCast Radio Network is here. So join TFG1 Mike, Nicole Hailstorm, and myself, Lady Rec, as we will be reviewing all 65 episodes of Joe and the Holograms in a 25-episode-long podcast. You can find Showtime Synergy on iTunes and GeekCastRadio.com. We are the truly outrageous podcast that you want to be listening to.
And welcome back. Yes, today we are playing one of our favorite games, fact or fiction. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to say a statement, and then we're going to give our opinion on if that statement is in fact, or if it is
in fact fiction.
Exactly, or if it is in fact fiction. Man, my words are not working for my mouth today. It's like a word jumble of blahness. I can't even correctly come up with a saying to say how I can't talk. So it's just been crappy. Anyways. All right. So we'll be tossing different things around. Anyone want to, Greg, did you have any that you wanted to toss out first?
Sure. Fact or fiction, guys. Villains make the hero.
Chuck, you want to handle that first?
Sometimes. No, I'm gonna say fiction, just to go because I think I know where Dan's going. But I'm just gonna say fiction because I think sometimes if you have a hero that's written well enough, I think he could sort of define himself and make for some great stories. Although it does pull it down if you have some bad villains, but I think if it's written well enough, you could have some really great hero stories.
Oh yes, I'll go the opposite. I'll say fact because if you look at the greatest superheroes, at least the ones that are the best superhero stories, they tend to be the biggest focus on the villain, or at least have an interesting villain at the crux of it in some way. So I do think without great villains, you can't really have a great superhero. I mean, that's maybe why Batman's such a great character, is that he has so many villains to play with. Same thing with Spider-Man. But then you look at someone like Incredible Hulk, who's a good character, but who gets hurt because he doesn't have really great villains or archetypes. So, and look at something like Dark Knight, the best comic book movie ever, which is most of the focus was on the villain, because they tend to be the most compelling characters, because most superheroes in some ways are pretty consistent. There's some exceptions to that, but it's the villains that kind of, I think, allow for growth and allow for them to be challenged. So I'll say fact.
Yeah, let it be known I totally agree with Dan, but I was just trying I was trying to go the other side of the coin because I knew what he was going to say, but it didn't work out so well.
Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys that good villain definitely does bring up a hero, and I liked your example use of Batman. He does have one of the best rogues gallery around, especially with the Joker, I think, leading that rogues gallery. But even if you had Batman by himself, still he would still have some great stories and everything. But if you have somebody like the Punisher, who it's like all mobsters, like no name for the most part, except for maybe like Jigsaw, it does get kind of boring and a little bit repetitive, if you ask me.
All right, good to know. Chuck, do you have one?
Yes, I'll use Greg's nice segue here. My statement is John Bernthal's Punisher in Season 2 of Daredevil will be the best version of the character to date. Fact or fiction?
Good, perfect. I guess I'll go first with this one. Oh, man, I really like Thomas Jane as the Punisher. I don't know if that's sacrilegious or what have you. And I like John Bernthal. I think he's a good actor, but I think he can overact, especially in Walking Dead at times. So I'm gonna go with fiction. I'm gonna go and say it'll maybe be the most successful, but I don't know if it'll be the best version of the character. So I'll go fiction.
Greg?
Yeah, I also like Thomas Jane as the Punisher. I think he was definitely the best Punisher out there. But I kind of agree with Dan's statement there at the end that it's going to be the latest best version. I don't think it's going to be the best of all time, but I think it's going to be the latest best version.
So better than who's the last guy that was Punisher?
Ray Stevens.
Ray Stevenson.
Or Stevenson, whatever it is.
Yeah, he did a good portrayal of the berserk kind of crazy Punisher, but
he did an admirable job.
Yeah, I think it's more of how they developed that character. If Thomas Jane had a good version of Punisher where it was a thinking Punisher, that's the version of Punisher that I really enjoy, especially how he went about his business in that particular movie. So
yeah, he was getting all emotional about it. He was very dark and brooding. Yeah,
made you kill your family. Or, sorry, I don't.
Yeah, made you kill your best friend. Yeah, I gotta agree with you guys. I don't think it'll be the best per se. I think it'll be great for what they're doing. I think it'll work within that universe and it'll work well with Daredevil. But I think I'll still keep the Thomas Jane version very, very near and dear to my heart.
I will say it's probably going to be the best use of the Punisher, because I do think the Punisher is best when he is not maybe the main focus, but a piece of the puzzle. Yeah, I think him and his relationship with Daredevil could be really interesting. So if the actor, the specific actor, maybe not, but maybe the character itself, how it's written and how it's used, I'm thinking it probably will be. So hopefully.
Yeah, he was always really good in those stories where it was Spider-Man, Daredevil, and the Punisher, and Daredevil and Spider-Man are constantly trying to keep Punisher calm down, and interesting storylines and interesting interactions with the characters.
Yeah. I was reading most recently, I'm trying to catch up with all the Secret War stuff, and I was reading Universal End, which is like the end of the Ultimate Universe, and the Punisher for the Ultimate Universe and the Punisher from 616 meet, and it was all right. That comic itself is pretty awful, though. I would not recommend it. It's not one of the side issues for Secret Wars. I would say you should pick up. There are a few, but not that one. All right, what else? I have one here. It is, by the time this comes out, Halloween has already come and passed, but with it, around that time, there's a lot of great Halloween candy, but fact or fiction, candy corn is completely unedible.
Oh, fact. That is the grossest stuff, the grossest candy on this planet. Grossest.
Come
and that's
on.
even
Seriously?
like, yes, that's even with like chocolate covered insects. I would rather eat one of those than
You don't know how to live, man.
Oh my god, they're
even
so
the pumpkins?
disgusting.
Even the pumpkins?
You mean the pumpkin candy corn ones? Those are also disgusting.
The pumpkin ones are a little too sickish, but the candy they're a little bit too much. But I like the candy corns. I don't know. It's not my favorite, but
I have not had it in a long time, but I remember liking it a lot. But I always remember like Louis Black's bit on candy corn. He's like, all the candy corn that was made 20 years ago. It's the same stuff that keep bringing it back.
I've never produced anymore.
Yeah, but
I used to like to stick two of them on my incisors and pretend they're fangs or whatever. Yeah.
But I used to. Did you do that within this week?
Yeah, it was last weekend. No, actually, just this week I bought a bag of Reese's and a bag of Kit Kats because they're like my two favorites. So I've kind of been munching on them all week.
Much better choices.
Yes.
Choices.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Greg, do you have any other ones?
Let's see. Fact or fiction? Freddy Krueger is would be the creepiest real life horror villain.
Ooh.
Man. So like he would have all his like powers he does in the movie?
Yes. It's just him brought into the real world. And he does rape children, so keep that in mind. That is also very creepy.
Man, so he's got that going. Technically, in the original, like, it was, you didn't know for sure if it happened or not.
Yeah, but he totally did.
Guilty until, I guess, never mind. I'm not gonna defend Freddy Krueger. That'd be kind of weird. I don't know. Chuck, what do you think?
I think he's definitely a candidate. I don't know. Can he be killed? Have we established that he can't be killed?
I don't think he can be, and if he is, he comes back. He's like a superhero in a comic book.
There have been like different things, like there's like the Dream Warriors and stuff like that. I mean, by the end of each movie, he's usually taken care of in some way. So I think he can be taken care of just like any other supervillain, but a horror villain.
I mean, if we go with canon films like Freddy versus Jason, we have Jason chopped his head off and he's still kind of alive. He kind of opens his eyes or whatever. I hope I didn't spoil the end of that movie for anyone.
You didn't.
Which one? The Jason 18 or
Freddy versus Jason 9: Revenge of the Machete.
Turtle Dick. I'm telling you, I'm obsessed with that. It's what's constantly running through my mind anymore.
You're gonna be yelling "Turtle Dick" in your sleep. Your mom's gonna be like, "What the?"
Turtle Dick, no! Get the Turtle Dick out of my face.
Boy, I don't know. I want to think of a creepier character.
You have I'm thinking of some of the ghost characters from like Paranormal Activity. You could think of even something like the Xenomorph from Alien.
The little
Mothman.
creepy dude from Saw.
Yeah, the creepy dude from Saw, who's kind of just like a regular dude. But
how about Mothman, Greg? Huh?
Oh my God, Mothman creeps me the fuck out. It does. Mothman Prophecies is the scariest movie of all time for me. Oh.
I was telling that to somebody at work because they've never seen it, and I was telling them your reaction to it. And that one episode where you wouldn't even talk about it, you got up and left.
Yeah.
They were like, wow, really? I need to watch that.
It creeps me the hell out. I was having so much trouble the one Halloween that we watched that, driving back to my house, coming down Snake Road in the middle of frickin' nowhere. Like, oh.
Yeah, because it's kind of the similar setting to the movie. I don't know. Freddy Krueger's definitely creepy, but some of those movies are so freaking corny. Like,
yeah, by like the fourth one, it gets kind of comedic on
the
purpose,
one where he's like the one where it was like a video game and he's like bouncing around off the ceiling. I'm like, really?
Yeah, by like Dream Warriors, they kind of went the corny route.
I gotta go Mothman. I think fiction. I think Mothman would be the creepiest.
See, I will say fact because like if you look at where it kind of devolves to, but his first movie, he was rather creepy, and like just the idea of that, if that character could be real, because you can't fall asleep. Like it's like that. Like it's not someone you can kind of protect yourself from. It's something. It's you just have to stay up.
Unless you're Charles Xavier.
True. Yeah, that I still want to see that though. Like putting like Wolverine in like a horror film, just be like Jason, and be like, and this is Jason versus Wolverine, and it's like 5 minutes long. It's like, yeah, that did not. He just kind of killed him.
He'd be like, "Hey, Freddy, you call those claws?" Just hacks him up into 30 pieces.
Plus, he's a creepy looking dude, and his past is, like Greg mentioned, a little creepy. So I'll go fact. Greg, you going with Mothman?
Yeah, I'm going with Mothman. I literally forgot about Mothman. Thankfully, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I could just feel it.
Yes.
Just start thinking of turtle dicks. Just start thinking of
That's what I'm going to have to.
That's the kryptonite for Mothman. That's how you defeat
We're going to have to put I'll put the photo on Facebook because Greg showed us, and it is like there's no denying it. It's just right there in all of its glory.
You can't argue the turtle dick.
Yeah, just to behold it. It's just
you just need to add one little line for the slit. That's all you need to do, and it's just right there.
It's just Anyways, did not expect that to happen today. But Chuck, why do you try to get us out of this hole? And what is your next fact or fiction?
I'm going to keep going with the Halloween movie theme as well. Fact or fiction, the original Halloween featuring Michael Myers is the best Halloween movie.
Of the series or just like horror movie in general?
In general, like Halloween themed movies. Not necessarily horror, but actual Halloween movies that are set in and around Halloween time.
Man. Trying to think of other Halloween movies. Is that bad? I think it's true. I think it's fact because it's a great movie. The original, at least. I can't really think. I really like Trick or Treat, which was it's like that anthology film that came out a few years ago, like a decade ago. That's pretty good. But
I want to see that. Yeah, I haven't gotten to see. Is that the guy with the big pumpkin head?
Yeah. That one's it's a little goofy too, but yeah, the original Halloween is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I feel like they ruined it by, kind of like all the other ones when they kept making sequels. They just kind of ruined it.
Yeah, and then they remade it with Rob Zombie's awful movie, which is awful. Don't watch it.
Because you had this great
Rob
story.
Zombie.
I like Rob Zombie. His movies are pathetically bad.
Oh, House of a Thousand Corpses is kind of neat.
Oh, that movie freaks the crap out of me. It's I don't know. It's just it's been a while. I was a lot younger when I watched it, but I remember just like this is kind of disgustingly gory, and I'm a young kid. That was the sound effect I made.
I just recently saw Silence of the Lambs for the first time, believe it or not. But that's also a very good movie.
I still haven't seen that.
Which isn't a Halloween movie though per se. It doesn't really take place around Halloween, but it kind of is.
It takes place in Baltimore, so you got that going for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Greg, do you agree, or have you? I'm guessing maybe you have not seen Halloween.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's all right. I kind of like Sleepaway Camp. That was really weird. But if I was going to go for a Halloween movie, I'm going to go a little bit more comedy, fun, family movie.
Hocus Pocus?
Yes, I'm going Hocus Pocus, Chuck. Good job.
Nice. What about Casper? Casper's a good
No, Casper, no. Sorry.
Was Christina Ricci when she was a kid? Yeah. I was.
No, if you're going to go Christina Ricci when she's a kid, you go Addams Family, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. She was a little freaky in that. But she's a little freaky, so there you go.
Was that seriously your answer, Hocus Pocus?
Yes, the Hocus Pocus is seriously my answer.
That is a good movie. And I just realized recently, too, or I read recently, that the kid that... Whoops. I just read recently that the kid that played Binks the cat was actually McGee on NCIS.
Really?
When he's older. Yeah, it's the same guy. Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't even realize that.
That's an awesome fun fact, Chuck. Thank you.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Mine's not Halloween themed, but it's actually... Unfortunately, we didn't talk about the new Star Wars trailer that came out, but it's been such a while and people have been talking about it. But one thing people were mentioning is that there's not much shown for Luke Skywalker. So my question for you is, fact or fiction, Luke Skywalker will actually be a villain in Episode 7?
Ooh, that would be so sweet.
I had a similar question. Mine was slightly different, though. But I guess I'll go first. I'm going to say fiction. I don't think he'll be the bad guy. I know there was some footage that came out with... it was like back in the day where Luke Skywalker... they had plans for him to become a bad guy. Or at least Mark Hamill did. He thought it would be a really good idea. I don't think they'll bring that to this. I think it would be more likely if it was actually like Luke Skywalker's son. That's sort of the angle I was thinking. And somebody had a good point that I read the other day. They said Star Wars is a Skywalker story. It always has been about the Skywalkers. So if you believe that, then this is going to continue that trend. I don't know. I think it would be more likely to be Luke's son, sort of trying to pick up where his grandfather left off or something. And I don't know. I don't really have anything to base that on, but it just sounded cool in my head. I don't know.
True. Hey, I've heard other people say that. Greg, do you think there's any chance Luke is a villain in Episode 7?
Yeah, there could be, but I kind of doubt it. I think they need to bring in the nostalgia kind of feel, so they're definitely going to have him as a villain, or not a villain, as a hero to make everybody happy from back in the day and everything. So I think they just stick with him being a hero and have everybody back together and everybody all happy together, and just having the kids come in and kind of quarreling and stuff.
See, I'm going to go with fact in the sense maybe that, this is my guess, is that maybe he does something in Episode 7 that makes people think he's a villain and he ends up actually getting killed or something like that. But then, it's later revealed that his secret plan all along or something like that. So I think, I'm going to go with fact. I think he is going to be at least more hero or more villain than hero in the next Star Wars movie. But just a hunch, just a guess. So
I will add that he is so far credited with being in Episode 8 as well.
Oh, well, there you go. So we could be a Star Wars ghost.
Yeah, so possibly, yeah.
Maybe.
I do think one of the big three is going to die, though. Between him, Han, and Leia, I think one of them will probably die.
See, my guess is Chewie.
Yeah, that could be too.
All right. Greg, you got any more?
No, sorry.
That's okay. Chuck, how about you?
Yeah, I got a couple more. Let's see. This one I'm not sure if you'll have heard about, but maybe. Fact or fiction, you will be purchasing the Marvel Phase 2 Blu-ray box set, complete with the Orb and Power Stone from Guardians of the Galaxy.
For me, that's fiction, because I'm really not buying any Blu-rays anymore, unfortunately. So I will, I'll go with fiction. If anything, I'll wait till it all comes out in one ginormous, I don't know. Anyways, no, I'll just go with fiction. Since I'm not really buying Blu-rays.
Okay.
I'm also going to go with fiction because I've just been buying the singles as they come out, and I don't feel like buying multiple copies of something.
Come on, it's not tempting to have your own Power Stone to go with your Tesseract from the Phase 1 box set.
If it was legitimately in work, yeah, I would definitely buy it. So. Do you think you'll pick it up?
I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure. Like, the price is just way too high.
How much are they selling it for?
I'm seeing it for I think it's like over $250.
Oof, yeah, that's definitely not happening.
And even the Phase 1 set, it's only down to like $150. So I'm like, honestly, I could probably find the single Blu-rays, like all of them, for like $60.
I picked up in a set. It was all the 3 Iron Man for like, it was $15. It was on sale, so yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like the Phase 1 and 2 together, you know, maybe like it would be less than the cost of one of them. You know, maybe like $120, $130. So I mean, it's cool. It's a novelty thing. You know, you get a nice sort of hard steel briefcase that looks like a shield case, and you flip it open, and there's all these files in there, and they have data on all the characters. They have like, each character has like a file folder with like stuff in there. I was watching some unboxing videos online and stuff. It's actually pretty cool, but I just don't think it's worth all that extra money, you know.
Yeah, I gotta save up my money for Funko Pop figures, like the.
Yes, like you're in desperate need of more of those.
Yes, like my Sand Trooper and Dewback from Walmart exclusive.
Have you got any? Are those episode 7 ones?
I don't think so. I think it's just Sand Trooper and Dewback from episode 4.
All right. Well, I have another fall-related fact or fiction. There's a lot of commotion over pumpkin spice, but fact or fiction, apple cider is where it's at, and pumpkin spice is overrated.
Fact! That's all we have. We have apple cider at my house. My mom just made an apple pie, and then we just have regular apples that we bite into and just devour.
Are you a fan of the apple cider, Chuck?
I do like apple cider, but I'm going to answer fiction to your question because when it comes to fall, pumpkin is the king.
Yeah. Pumpkin
is awesome. I'm obsessed with pumpkins. I'm obsessed with jack-o'-lanterns and stuff like that. I don't know why.
I just, my wife, I'm not a huge pumpkin fan, but my wife made we had this bake sale for work, and my wife made, they're called melt-in-your-mouth pumpkin cookies, and they are delicious. It's like right in between like a cake and a cookie, and like with this icing on it, it was a good time. But I got a soft spot for apple cider. I actually really missed this place growing up called Northup's that would like, it was pure apple cider. You know, it was organic before organic was a thing. It came right from the apples. It was delicious.
Unpasteurized, probably.
Yeah, it was unpasteurized, which I'm pretty sure is illegal now. So, but I do enjoy myself some good apple cider. I've never been a pumpkin spice fan. It's never been a thing. Pumpkins I love good pumpkin pie, but the spice is a little bit, I could deal without.
Nice.
All right, Chuck, any more?
We'll do one last Halloween one since we're getting in the spirit here. This will be a costume related question. We'll have a little nostalgia here. Fact or fiction, at least once in your life you were Batman for Halloween.
Greg, were you ever Batman?
Unfortunately, fiction. I was actually, you guys are going to laugh at this since I don't like the character that much. I was actually Super Baby when I was a little baby boy. I still have the little Super Baby bib around somewhere.
You mean you still wear it? Or you...
It won't fit around my neck, I'm pretty sure.
It's fiction for me, too. I think I was ever a superhero. I was like a ninja. I was like a knight one year. Army guy. I think my go-to was army guy, just because that way I can get toy guns that I could play with. My entire Halloween costume, I would plan on it, was just to find what type of toys I could get for afterwards. So that was usually my plan. Though my son will be Batman for Halloween, thanks to Greg, who got us a costume.
Woot woot.
I think part of that's because the superhero costumes are more prevalent nowadays than they were when we were kids. Like,
yeah,
it was.
Well,
I think
you
it was
could
more
wear
like
that
action heroes and stuff.
The
then.
plastic one where you could stick your finger or stick your tongue in the little slit and cut your tongue on the little plastic slit. Thanks, Venture Brothers.
Some of those, I remember some of the old masks. They were pretty terrible. And then they would they're like rotting in your basement the entire year, and you put them on and they stink and everything.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I was Batman one year when I was in elementary school. I forget what grade it was, but I did get to be Batman one year. That was pretty cool. I think I was like, one of the coolest ones I remember was like first grade. I got to be Leonardo, the Ninja Turtle.
Nice.
That was pretty awesome. I got to be a ninja. And then I had some made-up costumes because, like, I guess my mom didn't really want to buy one or something like that. I was like, I was the ghost of Zorro one year, which was basically like a white sheet over me with a Zorro mask and a black hat and a cape, and I just got this like toy sword or something. It was a completely random costume.
I was a ghost the one year, and it was just a bed sheet with holes in it, and I looked like a member of the KKK. I'm sorry, all African Americans.
Or like, I thought you were going to say a Charlie Brown costume, because that's like something they would wear.
No, I looked like a member of the KKK. I feel really bad about it to this day. They did not think that one out enough.
Yeah, I remember trick-or-treating as a kid. That was great. Like, I remember... the one year, actually, my grandfather kind of went with me because I lived in the country. We couldn't just walk door to door. Like, it was actually like a mile to the next house. So you would actually have to, like, my parents would drive me around. Like, we would get in the car or the truck or whatever, and we would drive to, like, all these houses of people that we knew. And it was always a ton of fun. I always got a bunch of candy because those people didn't get a lot of trick-or-treaters, so it was like you got more, which was pretty great. Like, you just didn't get a couple of pieces. You got, like, a huge handful. And I remember my grandfather went with me the one year, and he dressed up, too. And that just made it so much more fun. And
what did he dress up as?
He dressed up as an old lady. with a giant
awesome.
butt. He had I know, it was so great. He took one of my grandmother's dresses and he stuffed like a pillow into the butt to make it look like he had a huge butt. And he had like this, wig, and he grabbed like one of her purses and he just jumped in the car with me and like we went trick or treating. It was like so much fun. I think that was my favorite Halloween.
He definitely put the pillow in there. He's like, I'm gonna sit in the car all the time, so this is gonna be really comfy now.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely a great memory. Good time.
Awesome. All right, I have one last one. We can finish it up with this one. We talked about Star Wars already, and not too long ago we were talking a lot about Back to the Future with that coming out. So my question and my fact fiction statement is, correctly, with a combination of today's cynical attitudes, our oversaturation, social media, have we lost the ability to fall in love with movies like we once did with Back to the Future and Star Wars? That the movies today, our feeling towards movies today, in 30 years from now, we will not have the type of love for the movies today that we do for movies like Star Wars and Back to the Future. So basically, there's nothing coming out now that people are going to celebrate like they do for Back to the Future that came out 30 years ago.
I'm going to say fact on that. I think you're right. I think we're getting sort of spoiled with not only movies, but all different types of media, like music and we have everything at our fingertips. It's like so easily accessible. We just take it for granted. And like when we were growing up, and even before us, generation before us, like movies that was like a treat. Where like you got to see a great movie, and that was an escape from your hectic life or your hectic childhood, and all the difficult homework that you had to deal with. Those like that was a treat, and you got to enjoy like a really popular cult classic movie kind of like that. Where I think today is just taken for granted, and people are like, oh, whatever, like, what's the next thing that's coming out? Like, it just doesn't faze people as much anymore, I don't think. And then also because there's not a whole lot of original ideas coming out like there used to be. Like, everything seems to be remakes for the most part.
Yeah. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Chuck, and I think it's just kind of an oversaturation of stuff flooding into the market. Like, you're going to have to come up with something truly spectacular and original to get people's attention, I think, and especially with all the stuff coming out of places like YouTube, and now you got new companies like Netflix making movies and everything, and TV shows. So it's just there's only so much attention that people can have, and it's just going to be spread all over the place. It's going to be tough to have that admiration.
I'll say fiction, and I'll say maybe like us 30 years from now, maybe we won't, but I think kids today I don't think it's lost on them as much as we think it might be. I was my son, they had like Spirit Week for this week, and they did all these different things, and one was like a movie day, or forget what it was, but you could see kids still are in love with like superhero characters, so I could see like an Avengers being that in 30 years, being the Star Wars of today. I don't know if you were going to have the same amount of movies, but another part of it too is that sometimes as time goes by, our feeling towards movies, it gets glorified a little bit, because what people forget, right, is that Back to the Future 2 was overall looked at the time as a disappointment. It was looked at as like it did well financially, but critically it wasn't well received. It was kind of looked at as like much worse than the original. But 30 years now, it's like people are like treating it like it's an all-time classic. So I'm thinking, maybe 30 years removed from something, we might end up actually having more fonder memories of things. So I don't think necessarily it's gone. It's probably going to be harder because of the amount of stuff that comes out, that it's harder to find something that a lot of people do love. But I think I think kids that are growing up now are going to have the same memories we do for whatever comes out. It's just going to be different. So I don't know.
That's a good point, Dan.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll get back to you in 30 years when we're still doing this podcast. But alrighty, so that will bring it to the end of this episode. But we'd like to hear your thoughts on the different things we talked about today. What did you think of Supergirl? What do you think about the different things do you think candy corn is a legitimate candy, or is it disgusting? I don't know. And there's ways to get in contact with us. You can email us at feedback@geekcastradio.com or talkingincircles@live.com. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Just search Talking in Circles, DCRN. You guys are also on Twitter. What are your Twitter names?
I am at HeroicAgeChuck.
I am at the Create Forge.
And I am at Movie Revolt. But that'll be it for this week. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel, same podcast feed. But for now,
this has been Chuck.
This has been Greg, or Turtle Dick.
And this has been Dan, and we've been Talking in Circles. We'll see you next week. And that may be the first time in history someone referred to themselves as Turtle Dick on purpose.
You're welcome.
Making history here at the GeekCast.
I thought that would be more like, if Raphael got ticked off at Michelangelo because he did something to him. Like, man, he's such a turtle dick.
If I could name the episode that without it getting removed, I would.